Thank you, and welcome to the Dental Breakdown. My name is Christian White. I'm the CEO and owner of White & Associates Practice Consulting, Better Business, Better Dentistry. And today we're breaking with our norm of how we normally do our podcasts, and we're adding video to the mix today. And the whole point today is to talk about the private dentist's response to the COVID-19 virus. And we have been able to gather the best and the brightest and the best talent in the Midwest when it comes to dentistry. And I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves briefly. Lisa, let's start with you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Netzer, and I'm an associate attorney with Minnesota Transitions. I come with a long history and background in employment law, and I've been working with Minnesota Transitions on exclusively dental practice issues for the past 2 years.
Okay, Frank, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Frank Milner. I've been a dentist for 43 years. I've been through a lot of things, usually the first of everything. We took over from the dentists that were up above drugstores, practicing in their house. I've seen many changes. I'm a publisher, I'm an educator, and I'm also a clinical mentor for dental students teaching across the U.S. in dental schools, new graduates. I'm actually going to be doing a seminar series in DSOs around the country this year, just to be the voice of reason on how to start a practice today and what to do right. It's a privilege to be with this panel.
Thanks, Frank. Joe, let's go next to you, please.
My name is Joe Fricton. I'm an attorney with Minnesota Transitions. I started Minnesota Transitions with Dr. Dave Lindy, and we help dentists as they're transitioning their practice from selling it and going into retirement to helping dentists as they buy dental practices and take them over, as well as associates and partnerships, and then all the legal issues that surround them. And we work on some real estate issues as well as the associate contracts.
Thanks, Joe. All right, Jay, last but not least, let's please share about yourself, please. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Jay White. I've been working with White & Associates Practice Consulting for the last 40 plus years. And we get involved with the day-to-day operations of a dental office, staff issues, employment issues, how to put your team together, how to avoid conflict, how to solve conflict. And this certainly is a good time to be learning some about that stuff right now.
It certainly is, Jay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right, let's continue to move forward. Lisa, employees, who's eligible for unemployment benefits, who's not. I know you're fielding a lot of calls about that from a lot of dentists who, are frustrated, they're upset. Why don't you let's see if we can help them out today. I want you to talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Minnesota has an unemployment benefit agency that actually has an amazing website and is a really good resource for people to go to. The main issue we hear from dentists is who's eligible to apply for unemployment benefits. And the main thing to keep in mind is that any employee is eligible, whether they're salaried or hourly. And also, even if they just work 1 day a week and that has been taken away, they still qualify to apply for unemployment benefits. The unemployment benefits in Minnesota right now are, let me try that again. The unemployment system in Minnesota right now is a little bit overwhelmed. The week of March 16th, almost 100,000 people applied for unemployment benefits. Wow. The previous record before that was 18,000. So wow. In 2008, during the worst economic times in recent history, their top number for 1 week was 18,000. And now we've got over almost 100,000 people just in the week of March 16th. So the unemployment insurance agency has opened a new call center effective Monday, March 23rd. Hopefully they will be able to field more calls, but my understanding is the best thing to do is to go to their website and encourage your employees to go apply for benefits. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say you open your office.
What's the website, Lisa?
The website is, you know what, I will find it in a minute and let you know, but okay. I don't want to lose the connection on the Zoom call.
I'm sorry.
So the other question we get is if offices are opening to provide emergency treatment, let's say you call back in a dental assistant, how does that affect her benefits or anyone's benefits if they get called back in to run payroll, to do anything like that? The person who receives benefits is responsible for reporting any hours they work. But anytime you have someone working less than 32 hours a week, they're eligible for benefits. I'm not saying they're always going to get them. And it's not always clear that, because they will make some money that week, what the equations are that result in their exact payment. But if you have someone coming in to help you out, it is up to them to report that to the state of Minnesota. We should also say that it looks pretty likely that there's new legislation out there in front of Congress that will provide individual payments to individuals and families. So more benefits will be on the way. I don't think those benefits will be counted against anyone who is applying for unemployment. And also Governor Walz has waived the requirement that you wait 1 week before you receive benefits. Right now you apply and you should be able to get a check that first week. So unemployment benefits for people who have to close their doors during this closure is usually the best way to pay your employees, especially when you're that small office of under 50 employees. I want to emphasize, though, that the other side of that question, what happens when you start opening your doors again, is also important, because you do not want to create for yourself a discrimination claim. So especially an age discrimination claim. So you need to carefully consider, if you slowly open your offices, that's what's in the future, that you do not make any decisions like, I'm only going to bring back employees who are young and healthy. I'm only going to have people who are under age 65. That's not the way to make the decision. The decision should be made by what skills you need in the office. And as long as you can document that, you're going to be fine. But please keep in mind that anyone over the age of 40 is protected from age discrimination. So you're going to have to think through these issues as you bring people back online. So think skill set, think what you need right now in your office. The other issue is that most employees are probably going to be facing individual sicknesses or caring for a family member who's sick. So the people you might choose first to come back in might not be available. It's up to individual dentist office whether they're going to grant people extended unpaid leave, possibly, to cover such sicknesses. But you need to make sure, again, that you treat everyone somewhat the same. Individual circumstances may vary, but if you give someone unpaid leave and then deny it to someone else, you're creating what could be a discrimination case in the future. So think through what you want to do, think through what you're going to do when you do open your doors again and people are sick or need to care for someone who's sick, because those are really decisions that can be fraught with discrimination overtones.
Wow, that's thank you for sharing that.
That's great stuff.
It really is great stuff. The idea of bringing people back and bringing them based on skilled, yeah, that's going to be an important piece, Lisa. That's going to be a really big deal. Okay, wonderful. Lisa, why don't you see if you can get that website for us, and I'll share that with everybody, and then we'll move on to Frank here. Frank, so here we are talking about the new norm in dentistry. We're talking about a huge paradigm shift in how we're going to treat the patients when they come in the office. There's this idea of everything needs to be about health. How do we go about promoting that in the office with the doctor and with the team?
Well, let's go to the millennials. How do they access our office? They go online, they look at reviews. Okay, are you in the network? How close are you? But what kind of reviews are you going to get? And I think this is going to be more in your wheelhouse, Christian and Jason, because how you post on your website, on your Facebook page, is going to be, I think, a tell-all about your office and how do you offer. Actually, you're going to get more. I think you're going to get more new patients on the culture of health in your office today than you are on the before and after photos. And you can post. You should be. If you don't have a texting service, you should get one. There's a lot of them out there. I mean, if somebody comes to me, I have access to a lot of different vendors without I get no royalties off it. But obviously, when you post or text, you say that the office is closed by a mandate of the state guidelines, Board of Dentistry, until further notice. And then we can put, please watch our Facebook page for any updates. We'll notify you when it's safe to come back in. That you care, we care about you and hope that you and your family will remain in good health during this difficult time. Please call us with any questions, whether you're going to do teledentistry or not. But you have to address their fears, and there's going to be a lot of them, and there's going to be a lot of sad stories. My husband has coronavirus. I have to take care of him. My tooth hurts. What should I do? You have to be very empathetic. It's going to be empathetic instead of cosmetic dentistry. It's going to be empathetic, compassionate dentistry. We care about you and your health. We want to create loyalty right now by giving them your cell phone number. If somebody calls in, that you're accessible, that you can calm them down, and also build that bridge into a relationship. Like Jay says, your experience. Who is my dentist today? I don't know. He's a good-looking guy. No, he cares about my health and my family. He knows me, and he's there for me in good times and in bad. And I think, too, Kristen, this is more like what you do in your generation is you should be posting website, Facebook videos, a tour through the office and tell them how you sterilize things. This is our staff. This is what they look like. This is how they keep things clean in front of you or behind the scenes. And I think by doing those videos, I think that's going to be very powerful in your presence on your SEO, search engine optimization. Maybe it's not going to be Invisalign. You could probably tell me what the key things are going to be. Health, sterilization, things like that. I think that's going to be a good one. And also the community of health in your dental office today is how you post about the coronavirus. They're getting bombarded with information from all angles. But what about you, Dr. Joe Fricton? What are you going to say to me for my patient to make it personal, not on a federal state level, but how are you going to make it personal and tell me your story and what it means to you? What is it going to be? What is it going to mean to me? You can talk about hygiene issues. Now, this is a health issue. How do you maintain a community of health? Why not go over the risk factors about hygiene, preventing periodontal infections, inflammation, which could raise your risk levels, could drop your immune system down. What you can do too is talk about diabetes. You can talk about social distancing, what you're going to do in your reception rooms. How are you going to manage that? I think that's going to be really important. What about disinfecting your toothbrush? With all the cross-contamination going on, why don't you take this opportunity, all of you here on this panel, how do you decrease it? What disinfectant should you use? Should your, Christian, when your kids grow up, when they're kids, are they going to be grabbing each other's toothbrush and sticking it into their mouth? What antibacterial, antimicrobial solutions are you going to be soaking that in? Is it going to be 1% hydrogen peroxide? When you buy hydrogen peroxide in the store, it's 3%, and then you would add 2 parts water to that, or you can mix 2 teaspoons of baking soda, which is very alkaline, which is antimicrobial, into a cup of water. So what I've told you is not the non-clinical stuff. I'm actually stepping in front of practice management. And Joe, when you go look at a practice, and Lisa, when you're evaluating these practices, it's not, okay, which materials are you using? Let's see your instruments. I think it's going to be your sterilization protocols. How do you communicate with patients? And how do you post this on your Facebook page? And actually do like we're doing, the dentist can actually do the Facebook video, the website video, taking a tour of the office, and how do we protect. I'll bet you we're going to get our private practices are going to get a lot of referrals based on how we're going to protect their health. And this is something I never thought I'd talk about. I thought I'd be talking to you about bonding and then BioClear, smile design. I've been doing that, and I've changed on a dime, and I do care, and I do care about the profession of dentistry with a lot of passion, as I've had great mentors, which brings me to the point, you better have a mentor. You better get mentored up here, because you can't afford a one mistake. Lisa's going to tell you that. You get one complaint to the Board of Dentistry they're going to watch you now on what you're doing and how do you talk to these patients. I don't think you can afford a complaint to the Board of Dentistry in this time. That's my story.
Thanks, Frank. I think you highlighted the word change, and that's the norm. It's always been the norm, but now it's almost like it's been superfied. Everybody's going to have to get adjusted to a new norm. Thanks a lot.
I can tell one quote: "Change can be our greatest opportunity or our biggest threat." And it's always been that way, and now everybody has to look in the mirror and believe in it.
They do.
And just to keep in mind, Christian, so Transitions also does board defense work. So if you do have a problem that comes up, give us a call.
Thank you, Lisa, for saying that. That's an important piece. All the dentists need to know that. If they run into a situation like that, call Lisa or call Joe. They can take care of it for you. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so moving on to Joe. Joe, the resources that are available to dentists, talk to us a little bit about that. Give us a little bit of perspective of what's out there for the dentist that can help them out during this time of change.
Well, it's important for every dental practice that a dentist who just bought a practice, or someone who's been in their practice for a long time, is that with this shutdown is to remain solvent. And there are a lot of resources out there that are available to dentists. And number one is your lenders. I have been talking to banks who routinely lend to dental practices over the last week, and across the board, they're all granting 60 to 90 days of relief from the loan payments, and that's with zero interest accruing. So there's no interest accruing when you're not making payments that would be added to the principal. It is all going to be tacked on to the end, as far as I've been talking to the banks, so that there'll be an extra payment, 2 or 3, on the back end of the loan. So the bank still gets paid, but they just get paid kind of down the road a bit. And so that goes for your practice loan, as well as your student loans too. The Department of Education has ordered federally backed student loans to go at 0% interest. And then you can ask for a forbearance to postpone those payments. And again, that's going to, the payments are going to go on the back end there, but still that's going to help you out for cash flow purposes while your office is closed. Private loans might be a little different, so you definitely need to talk to your student loan servicer. Number 3 is on a personal end, your mortgage. The FHA loans are being ordered. The banks are being ordered to go at 0% interest and to allow for no payments for a period of time. And more conventional loans, you should still talk to your mortgage, to your lender, to see what they're offering. I would also encourage that with home equity lines of credit. Really, any loans that you have out there, is to talk to the lender to see what's available to postpone those payments. We also are encouraging all of our clients who are leasing their office to talk to their landlord and to ask for rent abatement. Asking the landlords are getting relief from their mortgage, and so it's appropriate to ask for 2 months, 3 months of no rent to, or half rent potentially if you can afford to pay something to help with cash flow. So asking them to give some relief, some help, whatever it is. You could ask to have your security deposit applied to rent. If they're not willing to do that, they're usually holding a month's rent. And then make sure that if you ask them to have it not be, that you don't have to repay that security deposit. And I would recommend, whatever is happening with your lease, if you do go down that leasing route, you're asking your landlord, is to document everything in writing, making sure that everyone knows what's going on so the landlord can't come back and say that you're in default on your lease. And then look at all of your overhead. Are there any other payments that you can ask for delaying payment on? A lot of the bigger companies, potentially your supplier, if you owe money on them, ask them for terms to pay it back. Again, you got to look at the details, making sure there's not going to be any extra fees or interest that would be going on. But as long as you are asking the service provider from almost from a position of collaboration as opposed to a demand, that's where you're going to get a lot more relief. You always get more flies with honey, and you talk to them about the issues that's going on. They want to keep a good customer. It's in their interest to make sure that they are that you're taken care of. It's no guarantee on the landlord side of things and some of your other service providers, but at least to ask them. It doesn't hurt to ask, and they can only say no. So we encourage you to try to delay those payments.
Wonderful. That's a really great strategy. I was actually talking to a dentist this morning about that, and he was asking about that very same thing in terms of the lease and in terms of his practice loan and his mortgage. And I said, call them and ask for, and see what they'll do for you, because they should be able to give you some type of a relief if they're smart.
Some leases, I am helping a dentist negotiate a lease right now, a new lease, and we're putting language in there to protect from pandemics and to relieve them of the obligation to pay rent. Not to get out of the lease necessarily, but just to relieve their obligation. Each lease is different, so you need to make sure, you need to review the lease to see what it says, but usually at the end, in the part that everyone calls boilerplate language, there's sometimes called a force majeure clause that can provide some help if your landlord isn't willing to voluntarily give that to you. So every lease is different. It's no guarantee, but there can be other avenues in the lease if your landlord isn't giving you, isn't helping you out.
That's great, Joe. Here we're going back to the change and the new norm. And I suppose going forward, if you're going to do a lease, the pandemic piece is going to be pretty important based on what we're going through right now. Definitely. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Joe. To all our listeners, if you're having a problem with your lease, call Joe Fricton. All right. So moving right along, let's go to Jay. Jay, I'm a dentist, and Joe talked about remaining solvent. Do I pay my staff, or what are my options? What are some things that I could do in that area so that I could kind of maintain my cash flow?
Well, as this moves forward in time, remaining solvent is going to be very, very important, and it's not going to be too much fun if we're not in business in 3 months. So paying attention to a budget, paying attention to our obligations is important. Staff is probably the largest single investment we make in our dental offices, and also the biggest asset that we've got. They're good people. We don't want them to leave. We want to make sure that they're paid. And following the issues that Lisa talked about earlier, I think are really important. Providing them with the unemployment benefits that state is available, I think, is probably the best advice I could give everybody. I also want to say this, we're not in business, which means we're not seeing patients, which means we've got these dental offices empty of people, but don't have to be empty of talent. There might be a situation where we keep our team employed, but doing some things very useful in the office. For example, working on your business instead of a patient. Working on a business is as important as working on a patient. And this is a good time to do it because usually when we have a schedule, it's not something we think of. Everybody wants to go home at 5 o'clock. They're pooped out and want to have, relaxation at home. Well, now we've got relaxation all day, even though it's not maybe physical. It's not mental, I can tell you that. But this would be a great time to have a team member or team members go through your computer reports looking for insurance. People who have paid their insurance. The insurances have paid and the patients haven't, or insurances that have not been paid and should have been paid, and there needs to be some action, some follow-up on that. That's usually a difficult road, and people don't want to really go there oftentimes. Also, probably the most important part of the practice is the recall. The most important person in the office is the person who makes those recall calls. And where are we with that? Once a year, we usually try and get our clients to go review the patient base of patients on the computer with the recall list to see who is not on recall that should be. As time goes by, people tend to they lose track of their recall date, and the computer isn't posted that correctly. And so it's important to take some time once a year and rejuvenate that recall list. The people who haven't been in, who are delinquent, let's identify who they are, and when we get back in business, let's make sure we've got a list of people we can try to get back in to keep that schedule full. It may be time to review your fee schedule. This is probably not a good time to change fees, but I think you should be aware of fees make a difference. And you should probably be reviewing when you last changed that. Maybe there's some internal continuing education you can do with your hygienist. For example, perio. It's usually a big problem, and we find in most offices. Perio production should be around 20% of the hygiene production in a normal dental office. If we're not doing that much perio, it's maybe because we're doing a lot of perio for free, not being afraid of charging for it, or we're not educated enough to know what it's all about, and there's not a uniform policy in the office for perio. A good time to sit down with the hygienist and talk about that, and educate people and have the doctor say, this is what I want in my office. Let's see if we can make that happen. So it's a good time for some continuing education in the office, and it's a good time to work at the business of the office in this downtime. And as Joe has said, look at a budget. A budget is really important these days. We look at saving some money. Where can we invest some money that would bring us a return in the future? Those are all good things.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
That I should have been talking about with the resources, but definitely dovetails with should I continue to pay my staff. There are SBA disaster loans that are available, and that are available right now that you should talk to your lender about. And if you need someone to talk to, please call me or email me. However, they're in right now. It's March 23rd is being negotiated in Congress for more help for small businesses. The proposal that is being discussed is to provide a loan that would be cancelable, or at least partly cancelable, based on your payroll. And the whole goal of Congress is to try to keep people off of the unemployment rolls. And so they're considering providing loans that are cancelable if you, to the extent that you're keeping people off of unemployment. So that's not approved yet as of the recording of this podcast, but hopefully it does go through, in which case I would, on any event, if you need cash, is to call your lender to find out what resources available from SBA. You
know, Joe, I've heard notoriously words about SBA being full of hierarchy and a lot of paperwork to go through. And I heard that they're streamlining that for this time of year.
Well, typically we encounter SBA when we are trying to buy commercial real estate or do normal normal business transactions. Those are available, those are one option for, and we use those to reduce the down payment potentially, or for other reasons. And there are definitely extra fees on that. And there are hoops that you have to jump through to make sure that they work. SBA has another function that's to provide disaster relief loans. And those are, I know the initial proposal from the Senate on Friday, 2 or 3 days ago, was to make sure that any loan a decision would be made on the loan within 10 to 15 days. And so that is just one, the SBA has multiple functions, and one of them is to provide these disaster relief loans, and this qualifies.
Well, there should be no problem keeping a dental office solvent as we move forward. I think the Federal Reserve and the banks of the system are enough liquid, or certainly will be soon, that there'll be money available for our dentists to acquire to keep them going.
Yeah, there are definitely resources out there. And if you have any questions, if there's any confusion about any of this, is to reach out to us, because we're trying to find options for all of our clients to make sure that they understand what they can do and what they can't do given these difficult times.
And circling back around to the unemployment insurance, I did find that website.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's just to keep in mind that the unemployment insurance agency is what we're talking about. So the website is www.uimn.org. And it's a really complete website. It's very intuitive, and it answers lots and lots of questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa.
Great.
That's great. Appreciate that.
Christian,
Yes,
can I ask Jason a question?
please go ahead.
Is that now when we re-enter back in, dentists don't like talking about money. And you're going to have 60-day accounts receivable, 90-day accounts receivable. How would you advise your clients with empathy and compassion to make that call to a patient who's 90-day accounts, who hasn't made a payment in 2 months? And then also, how would you advise your clients when they get new patients coming in? How do they address financial arrangements so they don't get into 30, 60, 90-day or 90-day accounts receivable with empathy and compassion?
That is a very good point. The credit arrangements that most dentists are following today are cash, care credit, or credit card. Well, those are the three choices they have to pay their bill. And for people who haven't made payments, very nicely suggesting a care credit option is, I think, a good one. And that can be done right in the office, for the office that's got that service in the office. I think most offices do today. Care credit is a very good source of credit for offices and for patients as well. For the delinquent patient who is now to the point where they're not making payments, I think a personal phone call is really important, and let the people know that you're aware of what the circumstances are and work with them on the phone as to make some sort of a payment plan that's capable or comfortable for them. And then write that down somewhere so you've got it and can follow up on it.
Thanks, Jay.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Frank. That was a great question. That's going to become a much bigger point of emphasis once we get through this and we're on the other side, and all of a sudden we're starting to get patients back in the office, and we're looking at the accounts receivable, like you said.
Care Credit, Care Credit is a good organization, and given the circumstances, they may even forego the interest that they charge the dental office to do some of this stuff. So it's worthy of some investigation.
That would be awesome if they did that. That'd be wonderful. All right, I am going to start wrapping things up here. Thank you very much for the panel today. Does anybody have any closing remarks, anything else that they would like to share? Okay. I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody for taking the time to chat today. I know that you're all extremely busy, and if everything that we talked about today. I mean, wow. I mean, this is unbelievable information. I hope that this is of an interest to everybody. Please go to, if there's an interest, go to whitedentalconsulting.com/breakdown, or you can call our office at 952-432-3322, and we will answer all the questions you have. And if you have a question for one of our panel members, I'll make sure that you get in contact with them. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.